me and Pedro would listen to, well, I'd be forced to listen to Xanadu, this song. Olivia Newton-John sings that, right? Yeah, I'd be forced to listen to Xanadu over and over and over to lighten the mood when we were on set.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Envelope Drama Roundtable. I'm Michael Urdonia of the Los Angeles Times. I'm your host. We have Oscar winners, Emmy winners, Tony winners, and that's just Helen Mirren. So let's welcome our panel today. Hey, guys.
Hi. Hello. Hi.
Hello, Bella.
We were talking right before this about how you two have known each other for 55 years.
Well, we worked together 55 years ago. Let's put it that way. And we obviously, but in the meantime, we've gone off and worked in many different spaces and countries, and it's just so great to be with Patrick again after all this time. Yeah.
Tell them what you just told me about what it was you wanted to be, because it coincided exactly with my feelings.
Yes, we both were saying earlier on how strange it is to find ourselves here in this situation in Los Angeles, and being screen actors, because both of our ambitions when we started was to be theatre actors, and very specifically to be classical theatre actors, just to do Shakespeare and to learn how to become a great classical actor. And both of us dedicated, Patrick longer than I, but Patrick did
10 years.
First 10 years of his career to that. I dedicated, I guess, about first 7 years of my career to that. We were not interested in film. We didn't want to do TV. We didn't want to do West End theatre or musicals. We just wanted to be great classical actors. And we shared that, and here we are.
Yeah. So how are we doing?
Yeah.
You pulled it off.
I think you're doing pretty well.
Well, thank you.
I wanted to bring up the topic of fandom for your shows, which all have very active and devoted fans, especially, of course, Star Wars and Star Trek. But Bella, The Last of Us, of course, is one of the most popular video games ever. I was wondering if the fandom surrounding that game affected your portrayal on the show at all.
Yeah, there was a big following. Everyone who played the game, The Last of Us, becomes instantly part of the fandom because it's so, people get so attached to it, and I can see why. And, yeah, I think I've tried to, sometimes not successfully, create a healthy perspective on it. The pressure is real, for sure. But, yeah, you mentioned social media, I think it's it's just learning how to balance it. I've now, gone off Twitter, and I've, basically not on Instagram, because if I can't see it, it doesn't exist. That's sort of where I'm at now. So I'm in denial, basically. But it was when I first got cast in The Last of Us, a lot of people weren't happy because I don't look like the video game character. Whenever you're cast in something, it's not I don't know, there's always an imposter syndrome thing that happens. So it's putting trust in the creators, and just as soon as you get on set and do it, it's fine. I think it's the thinking about it, that's the problem. I find even in acting, the more I think about any of it, the more I think about what I'm doing, the worse it's gonna be. Yeah. I have to not think about it. If the worst scene I ever have done is the one that I analysed and tried to prepare. It was the worst scene I've ever done, and I found it so difficult. Any instinct was just it gone. It was cancelled. So I had to work to get that instinct back. So yeah, generally the less I think, the better.
What about your connections with other characters and other actors, either on camera or on stage? What impact does that have? What people are actually pushing at you and giving to you of themselves?
Oh, it makes such a difference. Me and Pedro Pascal, who plays John, we worked very closely together in every scene together, and we learned each other. We started without having any we didn't have any bonding time or any of that. We just were straight in, and Ellie and Joel don't know each other to begin with. Me and Pedro didn't really know each other, so we learned who each other are throughout the process. And there were times where I knew what I needed. The camera wasn't on me, right? But you have to give a truthful performance in order for, like, to evoke a truthful response, right? So it's like, I think it's such a dance, I think, such like an emotional interplay, an emotional dance between you and your scene partner, and like you really feel what they're feeling. I think you look into someone's eyes and you feel it. So yeah, I think it makes such a difference.
Is there anything that you like better than looking into a fellow actor's eyes and seeing and knowing there's connection? And they're just absorbing you as much as you are absorbing them. And this, even though they may be thinking ahead, like some of your colleagues, they've got plans, their own plans for the future. It's so invigorating, I find.
Yeah, it is.
Those moments when you're face to face with another actor on stage.
And it's like nothing else exists.
But also because there's nothing. I mean, one thing is what you deliver, and yes, we can talk about the end result and how cool or not it is, and how many people watched it and felt for it or not. But at the end, what you take is the journey, right? And when it's around other actors, when it's not a lonely journey, there's nothing like that. You know, there's nothing like that because things happen, and when you go back home, I mean, the learning curve of being in front of someone that cares, it's something that you keep forever.
Yeah, I actually do have a comfort TV show. It's the only TV show that I'll like rewatch, and it's Feel Good, created by Mae Martin, who I also think is phenomenal. Yeah, it's pretty great.
I look for humor. This world we live in pushes me to hide in my room and try to laugh a little bit and relax and shake reality, you know, off. I would say Flight of the Conchords.
I love Dodgeball. I can't stop watching. If it's on, I have to watch it to the end because it's my favourite, almost my favourite movie.
The Ben Stiller movie, Dan.
Oh yeah, Dodgeball, yeah. Good. Apparently they're doing Dodgeball 2. It cannot be as good as Dodgeball 1, ever.
Jeremy, this major thing, this earthquake happens in the show about a third of the way through when Logan Roy, the patriarch, dies. And you and your succession siblings, Karen and Sarah, you played the whole thing, getting the news, figuring it out in this long sequence on a boat on a ferry. Please correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is after you shot all the necessary coverage, you got to shoot it straight through, like a 28-minute unbroken take. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, it was a brilliant piece of writing, first and foremost, and I'm sure we all feel, you know, there but for the grace of the writing ultimately, and also the cumulative force of 30 however many episodes up to then of just living with these, you know, with these people and these circumstances and relationships. So a lot of that does the work for you. But the way they wrote something about the suddenness of grief and the sort of mundane way that it plays out, and then I don't know about you guys, but when you get a scene or when you get something that you just think, oh, f me, because, you know, this is a moment that requires something in you cracking open and being overtaken by something, and will or won't that come? Don't know. Yeah.
Is he gone?
I don't know. He got very short of breath, and he was hurting, and then very bad. I don't want to you, Ken. I think he went. I think he's gone.
Okay. Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Did people see Maverick?
Oh, Top Gun?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, where like a bunch of miracles had to happen. It was like 17 miracles had to happen. And everyone had to do this double black diamond in concert with each other, from every person on the crew and the actors. And so it was a beautiful, I felt at the end of that scene like somebody texted me the other day, an actor said, you should probably just move to the desert and die. A bit like that, like this is as good as getting to be an actor gets, working on material like this, and when the alchemy happens in the way you hope for. Jesse Armstrong, the writer, had written this stage direction. There's a moment where I'm up on the top of the boat, Kendall's up on the top of the boat, talking on the phone, and sort of finds out definitively that his father is gone. And then Jesse wrote this paragraph essentially about that moment. And he wrote that he was on sort of the sharp tip of Manhattan, but also of history, American history, and that something awful, the unimaginable had happened, but he was also liberated, and the world was both off its axis, but still solid, and he felt like he could be a wraith or a super being. And it was, I mean...
And that was in the stage.
I was like, right.
Oh my God.
Everybody wants to be on that show.
Oh my God, how beautiful.
Did you guys in your various seasons feel like your characters had hinge moments? I mean, for Misty, there's a huge hinge moment that happens to young Misty. But how about for current Misty?
You know, I would say, I think, well, the character can be such a, you know, there are ways you can take her where she's so extreme, and she could be a caricature. You know, she doesn't show a lot of emotion. It's the whole sort of way she operates. And for much of season 1, there was just no emotion. You know, all this passive-aggressive, hard smile and veneer and everything. And then there's one scene where she finally breaks and is emotional for, it's like 5 seconds, and she gets it right back together. But for me, I thought that was, for the character, a real moment, because then from there, she has become more emotional. We've gotten to see more of her, and I think it's helped to make her more of a well-rounded, you know, you can't just have a character that's always living in that artifice without seeing beneath it a little bit.
Well, I don't want to be joshed about it. Not like you, okay? I don't think of killing as a joke.
Hey, newsflash. I am the only person who took your killing with the seriousness that it required. I fixed that for you, and you're never even grateful.
Helen, do you have any feelings about a scene in 1923 that, I don't know, maybe put your character on the path that she should be on, or defined the character for you?
Probably the scene when she takes on her husband, who she's nursed back to health. And now he's back, he's not fully strong, but he's back in his patriarchal sort of attitude. And she argues with him about, you know, the next step to take. But she takes him on in the sense of saying, you know, you're only alive because I kept you alive. And what do you think's been happening since you've been lying on your back? I've been burying people.
You think it's you who suffered the most? How would you know? You were asleep half the time. Well, I bathed you and spoon-fed you like an infant. I wiped your ass like an infant. Well, I shoveled graves.
So you get I hope, get a sense of her sort of burgeoning power within that, you know, pretty patriarchal sort of environment, social environment.
I've done some music stuff on camera before, like I've sung on camera for various things, but I've never played the guitar on screen, which I will have to do maybe in The Last of Us Season 2. But for my audition, my self-tape, and actually the Zoom that I had with Craig and Neil, the creators of the show, I positioned my guitar just a little bit in the background of like the Zoom shot, just so they knew. And I can only really do chords and like a bit of picking, so I'm gonna have to like get better at guitar. But I'm looking forward to that.
Diego, same question to you about these hinge moments, about these moments that you felt like defined the character or were clear turns for you. Did you feel like there was one in season 1 for Cassian Andor?
Definitely. I mean, it's all about the writing, and there's people like Tony Gilroy, the writer of our show, that he's just he never ends sending like beautiful scenes for you to portray, you know, and you understand what was written before, you know, when you get them, you go like, okay, even though we already shot all of that, it gets resignified, you know, in a way when these scenes arrive. And for me, it's a relation with the mother, the loss of the mother of Marva, the character played by Fiona Shaw. Because it's like she has every answer he needs, you know. It's just that he's not ready when she's around, and it's when he gets that, and it's a scene I did with her without having her on set, you know, because you're hearing the voice, and he's just listening to a message she left, you know. But it was everything. Like I had to stop myself from just like crying nonstop and not being able to do it because it was so strong, you know. It was like suddenly everything that connects me with the character was there, exposed, you know. It's like, so, it was so simple that it became so much my moment. It was difficult to say like, no, I have to do the scene, you know. I have to stop being myself. I'll talk to my mom later, you know, because there was no way to not connect like that. So yeah, that was very strong.
Who else knows?
About what?
That you were born in Canary.
You don't want to hear what happened?
We'll get to that. But who knows? Who have we told?
I don't know.
We have always said Fest. Every doc I've ever submitted has always said you were born on Fest. Have you ever said anything other than Fest?
Officially, no. I don't think so. But people, yes.
Who?
And so do you.
Well, how many?
I don't know. It's not something I've been keeping track of.
Well, everyone I've told is dead.
I heard you say something that Tony Gilroy said to you that I thought about when we were working. Find the reference,
Yeah,
like
always something.
I never heard it articulated that way.
It's just that because we do science fiction, right? And it's so easy to get lost in like, oh, the you know, the lasers and the flying and the hyperspace, but then it was all about finding the reference that connects with you, with, you know, your environment, your life, your context, you know.
Your real
you. With you. Meaning Diego, the actor, meaning the designer, the photographer, everyone, you know. It's like we have to forget we're doing Star Wars, and it works. It works, you know, because there's a moment where you actually, you know, interact with those elements as if they were real. As if you belong to this galaxy far, far away, you know. And
that's the sort of the essence of acting.
Yeah, it is.
Well.
It is.
It's finding the reference. That's what we do, whether we're, you know, playing Elizabeth I or Andor.
Bella, we're talking about these hinge moments, these key moments to define your character or change the path they're on. Did you feel like there were some of those clear moments for you for Ellie in Last of Us?
I think at the end of episode 8, when she's just had this experience with David, she's been kept captive by him, and then she kills him with the axe. I think that moment for her is like a catharsis again. It's a release of like all the pain and the fear and that she's been experiencing, and like the loss. And I think actually that moment is so pivotal because there's a line that David says to her when she's in the cage where he's like, "You have a violent heart," and I think she resists that instantly because she knows that deep down that she does. And then this moment at the end of the episode, you see like that violence. She does have a violent heart. David was right, and I think what scares her the most in that moment isn't what David did to her; it's what she, in the end, did to him.
Look, it's me. It's me. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, baby girl. I got you.
He was dead after like the second hit. I think someone counted, there was like 28 hits to the face with this axe, and she could have stopped, but she didn't. She kept going and she enjoyed it. And I think that's what scared her. And then that's like sets up for what's to come, I think. I think that's the moment where like that's a shift in her as a character that like informs the rest of, well, there's only one more episode in that season, but I think will inform seasons to come.
You're incredible in that scene.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's primal and
raw.
incredible.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, I was doubtful if I wanted to sign a 6-year contract. I didn't know anything about Hollywood, so I didn't know 6-year contracts existed. And I said, I can't do that. I have other commitments, theatre work. And my agent told me, look, it's not going to work. You cannot revive an iconic series like Star Trek. It's not, you'll be lucky to get halfway through the first season. So sign up for it and then go home. And I did. And 7 years later, I was in an iconic show of my own and my colleagues.
Patrick, you've been playing Jean-Luc Picard for more than 35 years. It debuted 35 years ago. In season 3, did you feel like there was anything that happened that blew the character open in a new way?
One of the problems, as well as one of the pleasures of shooting Star Trek, being Jean-Luc Picard, has been that the longer I worked on it, the more he became me and inside me. And by me, I don't mean Patrick Stewart was, you know, flying the Enterprise, but there was a blurring of the connection between actor and character. And that felt good. And it felt authentic and honest. And honesty was always one of the most important elements for my character, that he would speak the truth, but always in a sensitive way. Until in Picard, in season 3, when he learns that he has a son, and where all his life he has said, Starfleet is my family. That's my family. I don't need anything else. And then we realize when the impact of that news hits him, that he wanted that all his life. And just built up this pretension of being okay. And he wasn't okay. So that was a great revelation.
Your son is the command signal.
The Borg must be amplifying it from somewhere on that cube.
The only way to save the fleet, to save Earth, is to sever that connection, no matter the cost. It made him vulnerable, weak. I was shouting at Beverly Crusher. It was things that had never happened before, yet they were authentic.
Well, for you guys, it's a bit shorter of a duration because you're going, season to season to season. You don't have this long break. But do you feel like each season you're finding more? I mean, you were talking about how Missy opened up a little to you when you saw that emotional break. Do you guys feel like you're bringing more of yourself, your personal experiences and your perspectives?
I do. I was interested what you said when you said you realized how much you and Jean-Luc Picard were melding. I really have an issue with that. I always I realized when I did the first season, Misty is sort of this outrageous character and is supposed to be funny, but I never played her funny.
I'm sorry. I should never have pushed you away like that. And I miss you. And your grandmother sounds really cool. Okay, I'm gonna hang up. Oh, no, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. No, you hang up.
So I play her in the most truthful way I can, and she ends up being funny, and it makes me so uncomfortable when people tell me that they think it's funny. Yeah. And everyone was like, why don't you want to be funny? And I'll be on set, and I'm friends with the other actresses, and they'll be like, oh, you were so funny in that one. And I'm like, And they're always like, you have to figure this out, why you hate that she's funny. And I think it really is because it's like me being, my ego has melded with hers, and I'm just like, it feels like I'm, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to, she wouldn't want to be laughed at.
Well, exactly.
She doesn't want to be laughed at.
Which is your job.
Yeah. And even when people talk about like seeing the vulnerabilities,
if she suddenly is
everything.
conscious of being funny, it would just destroy the whole thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
It's her very seriousness that is so important. You have to hold on to that, absolutely.
And she always feels like she's being made fun of too. And like even in the scene when they're laughing at her, I feel made fun of, and it's just like. It's a whole thing I have to find. I mean, I've been doing this for 35 years, but eventually I'll learn how to separate myself emotionally from my character.
Or not. You never will.
The enmeshment is real.
Yeah.
Well, it's always like a question I get asked in interviews. It's like, how do you come home and chill and like disconnect from the character at the end of the day? I'm like, I don't. It's so difficult. Like you really, you really do become enmeshed.
It must be. Have we all thought of that? Of how hard it is for a partner who has to live with at least 2 people, or 3 people, or 4 people, that you bring them home at the end of the day, and I've stopped apologising for it because it's necessary. You never quite let something go; it's got to be there so you can tap into it.
But I feel, you know, people often talk about this character, and they say, "Oh, this was so pathetic or cringeworthy or something." And I find that hard.
You're supposed to be awesome. He is pathetic.
It's noble in that scene.
That's me.
I know.
It is you. It is you.
It is.
It is.
So
it happens all the time.
Are you finding Kendall? Did you find Kendall unfolding to you over 4 seasons?
Well, I think I feel the same way. Sometimes I couldn't tell where I end and he begins, but that's also where I think then you're maybe in a good place, and so much of it is writing and imagination, and I don't know, it's hard to dissect. I heard you talk once about just like finding the core compulsions and the core drive and the core need, and I feel like in a way that's the only way to work on long form television, because then you have a motor, because you don't know where it's going.
Exactly.
But if you know, if you have the need and commit to what they need, then that kind of takes you through it.
With Misty, she always seemed like a version of a real person and character that I have read about, heard about. The one scene that she had in the pilot, to me, was so realistic and so communicative and so concise. She is a nurse in an elder care facility, and she abuses this old lady. And I've always been fascinated by people who do that. It's the pettiness, the smallness seems so human to me. So I've never really felt that I had to find the humanity with Misty. For me, it's more about the proactive nature of somebody who is guarding against everything, coping, and just moving ahead.
You said some really interesting things about being interested in exploring that period of American history in a kind of, let's say, less clean way than we usually see it. Have you felt that
it's hard for any country. We're all still in the process. In Britain, hugely, you know, they're suddenly recognising the fact that, yes, they were involved in the slave trade. You know, and they've been avoiding that. Oh, no, we were against slavery all along. Yeah, but excuse me, the economic power of Britain in the 18th century was dependent upon building boats for the slave trade. And indeed having plantations in Jamaica, and, you know, and it's only now we're recognising that fact. So it's not surprising that America, you know, it takes many centuries maybe to come to terms with really what your true history is. I find it so terrifying here in America, the whole idea of not really teaching American history in schools, this move against teaching the real history of America. It's terrifying in any country. But anyway, you know, coming to terms with what real American history is.
It'll be the thing that ends us. Greed will be the thing that kills us all.
I'm sure you're right. Now, what do you really want to talk about?
I do see what Taylor is doing as an investigation of American history as much as anything, yeah.
How much latitude do you guys have? Like, is that the primal scream in the woods? Is that a scripted moment?
Scripted, yeah. Yeah. The scripts arrive, it's incredible, isn't it? They arrive and they're like perfect.
Yeah.
You don't want to change a word, you don't want to cut anything, you don't want to add anything. And then when you start, it's sort of, I don't know how they do it, Taylor does it. When you start investigating, it looks like one thing on the surface, and then you start a little bit rehearsal, and then you discover, you find layers in it. They're amazing, these writers.
You're really held by good writing, I think.
Yeah.
I felt that with the scripts for The Last of Us that Craig Mazin wrote, like, the detail, and he writes, like, thoughts, sort of like,
really?
Saying, he writes, like, character thoughts in the stage directions. And it's amazing, yeah, you just feel like so, it's like a net, like, you can't fall, because the scripts hold you so much. I think that's really cool, like, the detail of them, and... Yeah.
If it's good, it's great.
Yes.
If it's bad, it's awful.
It's true. It's true.
If the stage directors say, she goes pale and then blushes. It's like, you
cross it out.
No,
just
I'm not
cross it out. Yeah.
Just cross it out. Big black pen, cross it out.
I don't decompress that well or easily. No, the truth is I'm more of a reader. I mean, I love watching films and television, but I don't have like I don't have a go-to show. I did love watching Bella, who was just in here, and Pedro on The Last of Us. I loved watching that. I thought they were both tremendous.
We have been watching Succession from the very beginning, and of course this season I think is 4th season. I think it's remarkable. I enjoy it. I just wish I like one or two of the characters more, but they're intriguing and compelling, and it's a compulsive show.
I'm afraid we're starting to run out of time, but I want to revisit that idea of chemistry among actors. Christina, is there someone you worked with with whom you felt that strong, immediate chemistry, somebody you'd love to reunite with?
I did a movie with Samuel Jackson, and we just had the most incredible time working together. And we didn't talk too much about anything, but we both just seemed to feel what the other one needed. And it was a really incredible experience for me. You know, sometimes you work with certain actors and you're just like, oh my God, so this is it. You know, this is the thing, we're doing it. And that was one of those experiences for me.
Jeremy?
I don't know. You know, I will say that working with Brian Cox has been one of the great experiences of my life. Just the sheer force of that man and what it's like to be in a scene with him. Mm-hmm. Just a primal actor and a dangerous actor and a wonderful man but I in the scenes they felt dangerously alive, and I loved every moment I had with him doing this show. I would like to work with Helen Mirren.
Helen, you probably have a few.
Oh gosh, that's. I was just trying to think. Gosh, who? Julie Walters. I loved working with. You know, just made me laugh all the time. For me, laughter is incredibly important on a set. It's like someone who makes me laugh. I don't care what they act like, as long as they make me laugh off the set. That's great. But you know, because I'm working with Harrison, and because I worked with Harrison before many years ago,
Mosquito Coast.
and it's not like we've ever worked together in between, but it was amazing to come back. And you know, none of you are really old enough to, except for maybe you, Patrick, but to have that experience of working with someone and then not working with them at all for like 20, 30 years, and then suddenly finding yourself back in the pocket with them. And realising that it's the weirdest thing, that all of that time just telescopes and disappears, and you become... the people and the actors and the relationship just recreates so quickly. And I do feel a sort of connection with Harrison that is natural and easy and doesn't have to be talked about, doesn't have to be worked on. We don't have to discuss anything, backstory or anything. We just walk on the set, look in each other's eyes, and off you go. It might be just the brilliance of Harrison, I don't know, or it might be, you know, I don't know what it is, but it's cool.
She was saying that, you know, picking up with somebody 20 or 30 years later is rare, but you did that with your whole cast.
Yes, we did. 25 years, almost 25. Wow. They are a group of individuals with whom the connection has never been broken, no matter how far apart we've been, no matter how many years it was since we worked. Something got, especially the bridge crew, something was established. And one of the important elements of all of that, from what you were saying, is humor. And I remember quite late on in the first season, because I had, from the very beginning, always rejected the idea, well, you're the captain, you have the leading role. No, we are an ensemble. We are absolutely equal when we're doing our work. And it also meant that we came up with this idea that every single one of us had to be responsible for one big laugh every day. No pressure.
Oh, pressure.
Oh, the laughter. And I've seen, this is a little embarrassing and I will probably be criticized for mentioning it, but I have seen a director go down on his knees and say, please, just say the line. Just say the line. Oh, okay. Roll the cameras, then we'll say the line.
I hope you broke him again doing that. Bella.
I worked with Jesse Eisenberg on a film called Resistance quite a few years ago, and we just had the best time. We didn't have that many scenes together particularly, but we just chatted all the time. It was just like I think we just instantly understood each other's brains and were so fascinated by each other's brains that we would just like talk for hours about everything. And then we emailed for a long time after that, and whenever I'm in New York, we try and meet up, and it's just the same. He speaks so fast anyway, and when I'm around him, I like match his speed and his tone, and we just like, it's a really special relationship that I had with Jesse, and I would love to work with him again.
Diego?
It's very unfair. I mean, no one has complained, but it's very unfair. Gladly, for me, at least there's more than one. But the natural answer would be Gael. For me, we were born in the same theater. We grew up together. Our parents were family, and it's just we break like 10 years every time we do it. But we have a company also, and we work in other things together. We produce, but acting is just. It's just like there's something happening there that you can't control also. You know, it's difficult to control, but it is like there's a connection, and its laughter is obviously involved. And I guess I am the most unrespectful actor to set when I'm around him, because it's just not possible to behave. But it's also because I love him and I admire him, and there's so much going on there. you know. But it's unfair because that's a very... I know Stellan Skarsgård for this show and one thing we did before, and I would like sign with my eyes closed if he's around to do whatever. And he's from such a different context than mine. That's the beauty of this job, you know.
Yeah.
You do a film where you have 2 or 3 scenes with someone, and suddenly you find your other half. You know, it can be as strong as that.
I'm afraid we have to wrap up. Really wonderful panel, guys. I have sincerely enjoyed this conversation, hearing from all of you about the work you've been doing, and the questions you had for each other were great. So. Really, thank you so much for being here.
I don't think I've met a Misty in real life. I'm not terribly friendly anyway, and if anybody was like this, I would know not to make eye contact. What did the green grape say to the purple grape? Breathe, you idiot. I think it's really funny.
I love the characters of all of my colleagues on this show, but I love the colleagues more than I do the characters.